Neal Schon from Journey. It's wonderful to have you back at noise11.com, because last time was about, well, just over 10 years ago. There was an Australian tour, but there was a whole lot of other things we talked about that then eventuated in you being back in Santana. So, gee, I don't know whether we can pull some magic off in this interview this time, Neal, but let's try.
Very good.
Pretty exciting stuff that after all these years, there is a new Journey album for a start. Why has it been so long?
With our previous album that we did, everybody had higher hopes for it. Definitely myself, it was a harder edged album for Journey, because I was tired of trying to do reissues of everything we already have, the idea of trying to remake a hit that we already have just because it sounds familiar was really just, I was just not into it, And so, I butted heads a lot with the guys on the previous record, and I pushed for heavier sounds, and, was met with open arms, no pun intended, in the UK and some of the heavier markets, and got great reviews, but really didn't, make a dent out there. And what I was told is that we sold very little records. I don't really know, because there's no accounting with Frontiers except for in Italy. Okay, so I don't really know what happened. But everybody kind of had cold feet. They didn't want to, why with the industry that it was the way it's been going with all the labels and all the streaming and downloads, and nobody really getting taken care of on the songwriting side with new sales and all that. Everybody kind of was like, why? We have enough material to keep mixing it up for years and have a fresh show. And so it just kind of remained like that for a long time. And I think that, I'm always one to create new music. Kind of like Carlos in that sense, that him and I always, it's kind of like food for us. We like to create and know that we're moving forward. And, it's something that we need to do as guitarists to move forward, is always be creating.
Well, you do have your solo career as well. So, there have been a number of solo albums that have sort of popped into the middle of this. But Freedom in itself is a remarkable album just in duration, 73 minutes. Which puts it in the category of, like if we go back to the good old days, the double album. And you think of double albums, the White Album, Hendrix, Exile on Main Street. There weren't that many double albums back in the day, but, this album, had you released this 20 years ago, would have been a double album.
Let me go get it for you for 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Can I see that album, you guys? I just received this today in the mail. I ordered it from Frontiers. The vinyl came out before BMG. And so this just came in today, and it is our double album of Freedom, and all complete with Jim Welsh's outrageous artwork like we've always had.
Oh, yeah.
With Johnny. And a fold out here, double vinyl, orange vinyl inside.
Wow.
Quite impressive. They did a great packaging project here with, Jim Welsh at the helm. He's my partner now, that did all our early Journey stuff. And so this is a complete full double vinyl album. As my favorite albums like Electric Ladyland and Wheels of Fire. I've always had aspirations of doing this with Journey. I knew that we were very capable of it. And so once the juices started flowing with Narda and myself in the studio, compiling all the material and writing it as we were going every day, it was all off the cuff and in the moment, when we worked every day. And, we got rolling, and it just, it was like a water faucet you couldn't turn off, of musical growth. And we kept laying down track after track, all kinds of different, ideas that I shot out at him, and then we would arrange it, and then him and I would lay it down with drums and guitar, live drums and live guitar. And, you know, songs like Let It Rain, that was just, you know, I walked in the studio one day and he says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I got this riff that's been running around in my head. It's kind of funky. You know, I thought it was like kind of like a Prince, Chaka Khan, Hendrix mixture with Sly Stone, you know. And I was using never really used a whammy pedal before, the octave pedal that many guitarists have been using for years. And so I messed around with it at home, and I really liked how funky it sounded. So I started playing that riff. We jammed on it, and it was just a jam, and it was one take, and it is as it sits. As we jammed through it, and I kind of arranged it. I didn't really have any other sections to the song except the opening riff, and I kind of just winged it like I was in a jam session, you know. I went to the G, down to the F, up to the B, and, you know, did that kind of bluesy, you know, R&B funk thing with it, and played a live solo that's on the album. Wasn't overdub. The only thing I went back and did on that is I played a little bit of keyboards. I played some B3 on it. It was me playing like the B3, and I played bass on it immediately afterwards, which Randy Jackson actually copped a lot of my stuff and played it better than me.
Yeah.
But I did my Jack Bruce stuff that I love, you know. Jack Bruce was always my favorite bass player. I'm definitely a frustrated bass player and drummer, you know, at heart. Guitar is like my third instrument, probably choice of what I'd rather do. I'd probably rather be a drummer because I love drums and love bass. But so I had a lot of fun playing bass on this album. Right after we would cut tracks, I'd like, you know, lay down what I'm hearing as far as a bass idea, because the bass is a very interesting instrument because it changes your melody completely. And by one bass note movement against the chord will change where your melody is going to come from or where it should go. And so it's a very interesting instrument to me. And I hear it very naturally. So I did manage to play a lot of the demo bass on it. I played a lot of keys on it, demoed everything kind of up, sang most of the melodies that are on the album with Narda and the Bee Gees, and then sent them out to everybody to work on. But we kind of demoed it up after we cut the guitar and drums as a keeper, and let everybody overdub their respective parts, you know. And so Randy Jackson then got it, and he would turn it out and send it back, and I was just always amazed, you know, at Randy's ability as a bass player. Jonathan does what he does, you know. He added a lot of stuff to the album that sounds like Journey, you know. The keyboards added to some of the rock stuff that makes it, you know, just that melody more embedded in the heavier guitar that I had. Arnell had amazing vocals on this album, I feel. And I was really excited for him to work for the first time really with an engineer producer like Narda, that has worked with so many great vocalists, from Aretha Franklin to, you know, Whitney Houston to Mariah Carey to many others. And so I was excited for him to meet Narda and have, you know, Arnell do just a one-on-one. So I kind of stepped out at that point when they were working together, because the melodies were already sitting there, and what I was hearing was already a roadmap, you know, to work off of. And I let Narda and Arnell go at it. I was totally impressed with what I heard when I came back into the room.
What about with Randy Jackson? Now, he's officially a member of Journey. Is that correct now? Ross Valory is no longer with the band. How was that transition? Was it a difficult transition for you to go through with Ross leaving, who was one of the original members of the band?
Not really. You know, it's you know, it got to be very convoluted in many, many different areas, mainly in business areas. And, you know, I mean, you can read about the case online. It's something I don't really wish to go into because it got quite ugly, you know. And, you know, it was all really, I felt that it was about the fact that throughout the years I've been here for it's going to be my 50th year next year, and only standing original member, in the band. And I've learned a lot in the last 50 years about the business and about things that were taken care of properly in the band by different managers and things that were not. I got to the point in my life where when I realized that I felt a lot were not telling me the truth about a trademark of our merchandise. We always would get these minuscule checks at the end of the year. And if I'm traveling abroad all over the world, I'm seeing our merchandise in every major store and for quite a lot of money, and we were receiving peanuts for it and being told that it was trademarked. So I, did a lot of investigation actually with my wife. And we did like about 7 years of investigation, a lot of money spent with a lot of different attorneys lying to me, trademark attorneys telling me that no, it's tied down. There's nothing you can do. And it always just felt like it was not kosher. And so I continued to investigate and found out that, what had really gone down is that I was getting very close to what I felt that nobody wanted me to find out about. And it was that the fact that none of Journey's, merchandise was trademarked, nor the titles of our songs or anything, copywritten, yes. But what a lot of people don't understand is copyright and trademark are completely different.
Absolutely.
And you need trademark to be foolproof and to completely own it. So now I'm very proud to say that we uncovered this and I've got it on everything.
Wow.
And so it was quite an accomplishment, but quite a difficult one. And I'm still being met politically. A lot of heavy people out there that are, breathing fire at me still about it, because it was a lot of money being made that the band was never seen. And I think it's only right, if the band's selling that kind of merchandise, the band should be the one that gets it, And so I spent a fortune getting to the bottom of it. Now I intend to get it back.
Well, you can almost make that a television show, Neal. You've got a police drama in that whole thing.
Believe me, you're not wrong. I mean, the things that have gone down, just in my own life experience, even before Journey, I've got a movie, and people that know my story and that have seen the last even 5 years of what went down, that was very, very heavy. And want to be takeovers that just didn't happen, grand takeover. And I fought, I fought really hard, went up against all odds, went up against everyone, managers, accountants, attorneys, all saying, we're going to sue you for everything you're worth, and just kind of sticking it out and believing that it was all smoke, and it was. And so, at one point I really kind of wondered, they're going to take everything that I own. And my wife was like, no, trust me, you got this. And so Mikkel was very instrumental in helping me navigate through this and keeping the strength and believing that we were going to get this, no doubt. And so that's kind of the crux of it all. That was the reason that everything kind of fell apart, as I was getting too close to the truth, and nobody wanted me to get that close. They wanted to push me out. They want to push me out of my own band, for fuck's sakes. I was like, that's not going to happen.
And you ended up being the last man standing.
That's the way it goes. I mean, it's like a war, and it took a lot of guts to do this. And, it's ironic because, you hire all these attorneys, these high-end attorneys, and they have the ability to guide you in the right way, right? But they purposely don't, because they get bought off. And it's just the way that it all works. There's always a price that somebody can be paid, and they'll just walk away and say, "Oh, I thought it was there. Oh no, I was mistaken. No, I was completely wrong." Like I was doing an audit. Never audited our own books, and I hired this guy that came in. He said he was finding millions on top of millions here and there and everywhere. We never even got to the main company or the private bank that was sitting there that I was never a part of because I didn't want to join, right? I got asked, "Do you want to join a bank? It'll only cost you $100,000 a year." I go, "Why the fuck would I want to join a small bank when I have a big bank
Yeah.
that I deal with?" "Well, there's benefits, Neal." I go, "What kind of benefits?" And at that point, the accountant and the attorney gets up and walks out of the room.
Mm.
Yeah. So enough for me to know that I didn't want to be involved in it. The fact that I didn't fall down and get in it was the fact that everybody wanted to push me out because they were connived, you know? And so there's quite a story here. It's for, a lot of people that know it, that are close to me, that's seen it all. They go, "Man, you have a Netflix series."
wouldn't,
And it's
wouldn't you
all,
love? Wouldn't you love this Neal Schon to be able to travel back to 16-year-old Neal Schon when he was just starting out, and tell him this story? Hey, man, 50 years from now, you're not going to believe what the fuck you're going to be involved in.
exactly. It's an incredible story, and it's having an incredible ending too, because I haven't been taken out so far because I've talked about it a lot. Like
Yeah.
many people stay alive, by talking about exactly what they're in, you know, and I have put this all on tape, right? And I put it in a private PO box. And I had notified many different people that I was involved with that if anything happens to myself or my wife, the first place they're going is to this PO box.
Wow.
And so it got that hairy and that heavy, and that's where it's at. But I just chose that I was not going to be bullied and beat out of something that I worked my whole life for.
If we go back to that 16-year-old Neal, when you started out with Carlos and those incredible albums, Caravanserai, Santana 3, and then we jumped ahead all those years, and there was Santana 4, and now you're sort of indicating there could be a Santana 5.
I talk to Carlos every other day. We converse like all the time. And he's doing quite well right now. I'm like really happy that he's, out of harm's way. There's like a few scares he's had lately, and I was like devastated by it. And, so I'm staying very close and talking to him. He's like Papa Carlos for me. I'm always going to be the kid to him, even though I'm no longer a kid. But, we have tremendous respect for one another. And he's taught me a lot, of, not only musically, but just about life and in general. And we have a lot in common and respect a lot of the same things, not only musically, but about what we want in our life now and the type of people we want to be around. And so we're always connected. We're always talking about creating new music. We've talked about this, could it be a Santana 5? It could be. Just don't know exactly when. He's like on tour, I'm on tour. It's always, you have to find that time period when you're both down and you're not working individually on your own projects.
We're going to do Australia with you guys. Journey, Santana, Toto, and Jimmy Barnes.
Oh, forget it. I'd come over there just to do it with Jimmy. I've told him that before. Jimmy doesn't need anybody.
Oh no, but you two had such a great relationship, and working together on those albums. I mean, Working Class Man, Freight Train Heart. They were pretty much Journey albums with Jimmy as lead singer.
I don't know if it's a Journey album, but definitely a different project from myself and John. But John was like producing at the time. I had a blast playing that, and I get an opportunity to play that type of older rock and roll or blues, all the time. except for when, I got the opportunity to go out on tour with Paul Rogers, with Dean and Todd Jensen, now that are in Journey. And, that was part of the reason I chose Todd to come in with Dean and I after Dean was there with Marco. And it was kind of gelling, but it wasn't quite sounding like Journey. And I said, Todd and Dean are going to be like a force to be reckoned with. I know what the three of us do as a unit. And we put together, I felt a phenomenal band for Paul Rogers. He just loved the band. And we were able to cover everything from any song Free ever played to, The Firm, to, Bad Company, to Muddy Waters Blues tribute album that he had ever greatest guitar player on. And then I started throwing Hendrix tunes at him. So we had a 2-hour set that was just cocked and loaded and rocked like a motherfucker, from beginning to end, like nothing I've ever heard, and just like Paul was so amazing. And so it's not a fluke or like amazing me right now at the response we're getting from the Freedom Tour with Dean and Todd in it, and how good the band sounds. I mean, people that have seen us from the beginning to now, and seeing every different formation of Journey with the different individuals that have come and gone, like Pat Thrall, it's a good friend of mine, great guitarist. I'm sure you know who he is. He came to see us in Vegas, and he goes, fuck, he goes, holy fuck, he goes, you just fucking blew me away. He says, that's the best version I've ever seen of you, just you. Your sound, your guitar sound, what it sounds like in front now, because the band is on a different level than you've ever been on. And I said, I truly believe so. And that's what our fans are saying. It's reflecting in all the live clips that I put up. We have the right guy in front now mixing us. House mixer makes us sound like a record, and really knows how to mix our Nell, vocally. So he doesn't have to strain himself, and he's above the band, and he's singing like perfectly. It just sounds like a record every night.
Wow. I'll tell you what, if we had Journey, Santana, Jimmy Barnes and Toto, collectively, you think about the 55 years of Santana, the 52 years of Journey, the 45 of Jimmy, the 45 of Toto. We've got over 200 years of a rock concert that you could be doing over a couple of hours.
Maybe we could go like to, the different parts of Australia and do like a week in each city. and play stadium, play it like Billy Joel does, in New York at the stadium there. Yeah. I mean, he does like a week at a time, I mean, with a bill like that, I definitely feel that we could do that and seriously have some fun with it.
That'd be good stuff. Well, we're just about running out of time here. It's wonderful to catch up with you again after all these years, Neal.
It's great to see you again, Paul. Take care. And with all luck and hope, we'll be there next year.
Perfect stuff.